Welcome to the scoping presentations for Amendment 51, 52, and 53, Snowy Grouper, Golden and Blueline Tilefish, and Gag Grouper. I'm Allie Iberly, a staff member at the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council. And in this presentation, we're going to review the details on the amendment process. We're going to go through the details on each amendment listed here, and then give you instructions on how you can leave a comment. First, I'm going to discuss the amendment process. Anytime the Council wishes to alter the FMP or Fishery Management Plan, they do so through a plan amendment. So first step, a fishery issue is brought to the Council. That could be new information from a stock assessment, which is the most common, and the Council discusses that management need. This is a really high-level discussion. There's not really formal actions and alternatives yet. Then the Council takes that amendment to scoping. Scoping is the first opportunity for the public to comment, and they will suggest actions or ways to address that management need. So that's where we are for the three amendments that we're going to discuss today. The Council will review the input from the public and use that input to help develop actions and alternatives. After they develop actions and alternatives, the amendment will return to the public during public hearings. Here, the public can provide their opinions on those hard and fast actions and alternatives. The Council will then review that input, make any modifications to the amendment, and select preferred alternatives. The last opportunity for the public to provide input is during the final approval stage. As we discuss the changes proposed in the amendments, we'll mention three main levels: the OFL, the ABC, and the ACL. The OFL, or overfishing limit, is a limit set above which a stock experiences overfishing. This level is set by the Science and Statistical Committee based on the most recent stock assessment. The ABC, or acceptable biological catch, is the maximum amount of a stock that can be removed each year without having a negative impact on the population. This value is also set by the SSC. The buffer between the ABC and the OFL accounts for scientific uncertainty. The last level is the annual catch limit. The annual catch level that is set by the Council, and it's based on the ABC. This catch level is then divided between the commercial and recreational sectors to share. There can be a buffer set between the ACL and the ABC to account for management uncertainty. As I mentioned before, stock assessments can often be a starting point for fisheries amendments. There have been several survey methods to collect data for these stock assessments, particularly recreational data. The Marine Recreational Information Program, or MRIP, previously used the Coastal Household Telephone Survey, or CHTS method, to estimate recreational landings. As the use of household landlines started to decline, the agency reevaluated the survey method in 2006. In 2018, they developed the Fishing Effort Survey, or FES method, which uses mail surveys rather than household landlines. These surveys estimate recreational effort as well. This new method was found to be a better representation of the fishing population, was less susceptible to bias, was more efficient than previous survey methods, and also allowed participants more time to complete the survey. The first amendment that we'll discuss is Amendment 51, which pertains to snowy grouper. The problem that started the amendment process for snowy grouper was that the most recent stock assessment, which was CDR 36 update, indicated that the stock is both overfished and undergoing overfishing. Because of this stock status, reductions in catch are required. This assessment also incorporated that new method of sampling that I mentioned earlier, the MRIP FES method. Therefore, new catch levels are needed and sector allocations based on these recreational landings estimates. So what is the Council required to do? At this point, the Council is required to address catch levels and allocations. Catch levels will be modified to include that new MRIP FES method of estimating recreational landings and updated ABC values that will be provided by the Science and Statistical Committee. And then allocations will be revised using the ACL, which now incorporates that new MRIP FES data. A reduction in harvest is needed, so allocations will help split that reduction. So what is Amendment 51 proposing? The items in this list are things that the Council has discussed thus far. However, I would like to note that this amendment is very early on in the process, and the purpose of scoping is so that the Council can get the input of the public as they move forward in developing actions and alternatives. So the items discussed thus far at the Council have been modifications to the commercial trip limit. The current commercial trip limit is 200 pounds gutted weight. Modifications to the commercial season. The current season is split into two, the first being January 1st through June 30th, and the second being July 1st through December 31st. The Council has also discussed modifications to recreational management measures. Current recreational management measures include a bag limit of 1 fish per vessel per day, and the season running from May 1st to August 31st. And finally, they've discussed modifications to recreational accountability measures. So the Council needs your input. Reductions in the harvest of snowy grouper are needed. And what management measures could be used to achieve these reductions? Are any of the items mentioned on the previous slide that the Council has discussed applicable? The Council also directed staff to ask questions about blueline tilefish and how often you catch them when targeting snowy grouper. So when fishing for snowy in your area, do you often catch blueline tilefish? And does this differ with different geographic locations or times of the year? Will changes in the snowy grouper season affect how or when you fish for blueline tilefish and vice versa? That wraps it up for Amendment 51 pertaining to snowy grouper. And I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Roger to discuss Amendment 52, which is blueline and golden tilefish.
Hello, I'm Roger Poyes, Habitat and Ecosystem Scientist with the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council, and we'll be addressing Amendment 52 for blueline and golden tilefish. The most recent stock assessment of the South Atlantic golden tilefish indicated that the stock is not overfished nor experiencing overfishing. This stock assessment also incorporated the new Marine Recreational Information Program's Fishing Efforts Survey method of estimating recreational landings. The Council is also considering modifying blueline tilefish recreational measures based on input from some fishery participants and wants to obtain additional input from stakeholders throughout the region. For golden tilefish, the Council is required to revise the accepted biological catch, annual optimum yield, total annual catch limit, and sector allocations for the golden tilefish based on results from the most recent stock assessment. For blueline tilefish, the Council is under no requirement to make modifications to the blueline tilefish recreational accountability measures or the recreational bag limit. What is being proposed in Amendment 52 include the following: to increase the total annual catch limit and the annual optimum yield for golden tilefish, which is up to about 18%, to revise the golden tilefish sector allocations, modify the start of the fishing year for each golden tilefish commercial gear sector, which include long line and hook and line, to modify the commercial and recreational accountability measures for golden tilefish, and to modify the recreational blueline tilefish accountability measures and reduce the bag limit.
The last amendment that we're going to discuss during this scoping meeting is Amendment 53 pertaining to gag grouper. So the most recent stock assessment, CDR 71, indicated that the South Atlantic stock of gag grouper is both overfished and undergoing overfishing. And because of this stock status, reductions in catch are needed. This assessment also incorporated that new survey method, the MRIP FES method. Therefore, new catch levels and allocations are needed. So what is the Council required to do pertaining to gag? The Council must establish a rebuilding plan with a maximum time frame of 10 years, and this is in accordance with National Standard 1. They also need to address catch levels and allocations. Catch levels will be modified to include the updated MRIP FES methods and updated ABC values. And then allocations will be revised according to the new ACL, which incorporates those new survey methods. So what is Amendment 53 proposing? At this point, like the other amendments we've discussed, Amendment 53 is very early in the process, and the Council needs input on what actions should be included in this amendment. However, these are the items that have been discussed. Modifications to the current commercial trip limits. The current commercial trip limit is 1,000 pounds gutted weight until 75% of the commercial ACL is met, and then that trip limit steps down to 500 pounds gutted weight. There's been discussion on creating a recreational vessel limit. Currently, there is a bag limit of 1 fish per person per day within the Snapper Grouper aggregate. There's been discussion on increasing the minimum size limit for both sectors, and currently the size limit is 24 inches minimum total length. There's been talk about creating a slot limit for both sectors, restricting or removing spear gear during the rebuilding plan, modifying the recreational spawning season closure, and taking a novel approach, modifying accountability measures. So the Council needs your input on how to build this amendment. A roughly 50% decrease in harvest is needed to help rebuild the gag grouper stock. What managements do you think would be appropriate to achieve these reductions? Are any of the items listed on the previous slide applicable? Do you have any other suggestions on how to be able to reduce harvest of gag grouper?
Amendment timing for the 3 amendments being discussed. Amendment 51, Snowy Grouper. The Council was notified by National Marine Fisheries Service in June of 2021 that they are required to end overfishing immediately. Final action scheduled for December of 2022 with implementation scheduled for summer of 2023. Amendment 52 for Blueline and Golden Tilefish. The Council is scheduled to make final decisions on Golden Tilefish and Blueline Tilefish in December 2022 with implementation in 2023. In Amendment 53 for Gag Grouper, the Council was notified by National Marine Fisheries Service in June of 2021 that they are required to end overfishing within 2 years. Final action is scheduled for December 2022 with implementation scheduled for summer 2023.
So how do you make a comment? We will be holding 3 evening webinars, February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. These will be live webinars in which you'll have an opportunity to comment. You can also submit written comments using the online form available from the Public Hearings and Scoping Meetings page on the Council's website. The link is provided on this slide. Comments need to be submitted by 5 p.m. on February 4th. You can send comments through the mail to John Carmichael, our Executive Director, at the address listed on the slide, or you can send them by fax. Thank you so much for providing your input. And if you have any questions on any of the amendments discussed tonight or any other amendments under development, please feel free to reach out to myself or Roger. Our contact information is listed here, and it's also listed on the SAFMC website. Thank you so much.